The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome to another episode of Speaking with the Senator. I'm Senator Kevin Avard, and today I have a very special guest, and many of you would know him as a war hero. I would call him a war hero. General Don Bolduc is here, and we're going to be talking a little bit about his campaign, a little bit about why he's running, and how the campaign's going. And with that, welcome, General. It's good to have you on the show.
Kevin, it's great to be on the show.
And it's
Thank
an honor
you for
to
having
see
me.
you again. Yeah.
My best to all your listeners
Yeah.
and viewers.
Well, that's
really
two.
Appreciate it. Right? That's two.
That's
well,
two.
God bless them both.
There you go. Well, welcome to the show, and I appreciate you taking the time to come out. And I know you're back on the campaign trail and all that. And I was kind of surprised. I got a little text the other day, and it was, who is this? You know, it was somebody inviting me to a graduation police academy.
That's right.
And that's you.
It's me.
All right. So that's news.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I've been in the police academy since July.
Yeah.
And I started there. And when I graduate on the 19th of November, I'll work for Hampton Police Department.
Nice.
And so, there's a story that goes with it, obviously.
Yeah.
But I did get laid off by New England College from my professor job, and I haven't been able to find a job in academia since, and I can't really find a job with anybody else, right? And I'll just keep it short and sweet.
What are your qualifications?
I'm a political liability.
Oh, is that right?
And so that's basically it.
So that's a shame.
And so I was getting ready to put my application into Planet Fitness and go hand out towels and clean equipment. That's where I go to the gym anyway, so I figured, what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at my wife and I said, what do you think? Maybe I should apply for a police department, somewhere around the Seacoast area. And so I looked, and, Hampton had some serious shortages. And so I said, well, I'll just put my application in there. That's what I did, and took the standardized test with 27 other folks, most of them 22 years old, and passed that, got into the hiring process and did the physical fitness test, and then the physical from the doctor, and then the psychological test and the psychological evaluation, and polygraph and PT test, and passed it all. And at the end, out of the 27, they hired 4, and I was one of them.
Wow, congratulations.
So all 4 of us are in the police academy together, and along with guys from Pelham and Auburn and Madbury and Waterville Valley, Southampton. I want to make sure I'm covering them all. Oh, State Police, Marine Patrol.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And you're doing this all at the same time that you're running your campaign.
I am. And at the same time, my wife and I are taking care of our grandchildren, and at the same time that we're helping veterans. And so it's kept us quite busy, but the end is near, as the song goes with Frank Sinatra, and we'll be graduating, and I'll be looking forward to serving the public in Hampton.
Now, will you be able to continue your campaign as you're doing this?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
What are you hearing from the people?
Well, I'm out in all 10 counties,
Yeah.
and the people out there are very concerned with. If you think about it locally, here in the Granite State, they're very concerned about health care.
Mm-hmm.
They're very concerned about their medical freedoms. They feel that a lot of their freedoms are being truncated and being interfered with, and so they're very worried about that. They're worried about the education of their children. They're worried that parents don't have the say in public education that they need to have. They're worried about the cost of energy, which I know you do a lot of hard work on that in the state Senate, and we're appreciative of that. I know something I'm worried about all those things, but 10 cents per kilowatt hour going up on the seacoast, wow. That means we're going to be wearing a lot
With
of
the nuclear
sweatshirts
power
and
plant
robes.
right next
Yeah,
door to you.
Exactly.
Right.
We just need one more reactor, right? Brought online, and we'll be good. And it's safe. We damn near put our whole United States Navy on nuclear vessels, right? So this is safe stuff, right? And Chernobyl, we know, is always the thing that pops up, but that was deliberate. And then
3 Mile Island.
yeah, 3 Mile Island,
Which
but that
was
was a
minor.
long time ago.
Yeah.
But the safety mechanisms worked, and that's why you have the safety mechanisms in place.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that we had an energy independence not too long ago, and now it seems as though this crisis is almost self-inflicted
It is.
with regard to shutting down the
It's-
pipelines and shutting down natural gas supply. There is this concern that while we're letting other countries develop, Russia, with their pipelines, OPEC, we're begging them for some reason to produce more oil, but we can't.
Produce more oil,
It-
lower the
It
barrel.
doesn't
They're not
make
going to do any of
sense.
that. They never have done
It
that.
it doesn't make sense. And
No.
so these are some of the questions that they're concerning people. Come this winter, it's going to be an issue that it'll be on everybody's mind. I'm
Huge
very
issue.
sure. With regard
The other
to
problems are the opioid crisis.
Yeah.
Everybody's worried about that. Mental health crisis.
Mhm.
A lot of people are worried about. And, losing their jobs and livelihood because of shot mandates.
so what about this $450,000 that's going to be applied to these illegal aliens or immigrants or however you want to designate them? This just can't seem to be reality.
It's not based on reality.
But they're coming, and the president said, "Oh, it's garbage," and now it's a settlement for these people that have been disenfranchised from their parents. Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are your views about that?
Well, obviously, I disagree with it.
Yeah.
And I disagree with with the notion that the Trump administration did anything wrong when people that came over the border violated our law. Anyone who violates the law and has children with them, they're separated from their children, to include American citizens, even here in the state.
Yeah.
I mean, we just had 9 Granite Staters arrested at the New Hampshire Police Academy, and their children were separated from them, right?
Right.
So that's what happens.
There's actually a ministry to help those
Right.
children
Yeah.
that
So
are separated.
it's routine that children get separated from adults that commit crimes, and whether you're a citizen or not a citizen. And so, of course, I don't agree with reparations going to people that have broken the law.
Right.
Well, I think you said it. It's silly. It doesn't make any sense. And it's like, what are you going to think of next, right?
Right.
And it's almost like you open the border, you create a humanitarian problem, you turn the border into a sieve, you create human trafficking issues, illicit trafficking issues, drug trafficking issues that are negatively affecting New Hampshire and Utah and other non-border states. It's a national problem right now. Millions of illegals, going out and populating different areas and being given money to do so.
There's an incentive to cross the border.
There is an
because
incentive,
There's going to be a financial
and it
gain.
weakens our nation,
Right.
right? And we're not able to focus on some real infrastructure problems that we have, critical infrastructure problems that we have. We've had the 4 largest cyber attacks in our nation's history because they've taken their eye off the ball.
Mhm.
And Maggie Hassan sits on that committee. She sits on the Homeland Security Committee, and she hasn't taken the Secretary of Homeland Security to task on anything that he's done to make this country more vulnerable to terrorism, to our enemies.
One of the things that's really concerning as well, because of these arbitrary not mask, but the vaccine mandates,
Mhm.
the border security people that are not going to comply with that are going to be out of a job.
That's right.
And whatever percentage that is a percentage that isn't going to be made up shortly. We're going to lose more help on the border to protect those borders from what we already have. There are going to be a lot of people on the unemployment line because of these mandates, and yet they put their lives on the line. The nurses put their lives on the lines, during this whole epidemic or pandemic. And now all of a sudden, if you do not comply, you're going to be out of a job.
Yeah. I make that point all the time, and that's a very good point to make. But even worse, it's going to hurt our economy, because people need jobs. People need jobs to support their families. People need jobs to pay taxes. If you don't have taxes, the government doesn't have their money. If the government doesn't have their money, they can't provide essential programs for people. And so it's this vicious circle of loss of common sense, loss of critical thinking.
One of the things that's really concerning is the fact that it seems as though locally, nationally, globally, they're creating this two-class system of vaccinated and unvaccinated. And that's a real concern. And it seems as though we actually have to start putting in legislation to protect people's rights to have autonomy of their own bodies, which seems crazy at this point. It's as though, well, unless you do as the government says, you're going to be in this class system. And if you get in line with the government and do what they say, you'll be in this. You'll be rewarded. A two-class system instead of 3 or 4-class system. So if somebody has a religious or for whatever reason that they feel as though they don't want to take this vaccine, they're going to be punished.
Yeah, they are. And you make a good point. We have a constitution, both state and our federal constitution, that protects our rights. And anything that the government does should be to protect those rights. But now they're violating those rights.
Right.
And so where do people turn, right? So they have to mobilize themselves. Well, when they mobilize themselves, they're labeled as domestic terrorists, whether it is to fight school boards who are taking their parental rights away from them in the schools, or it's nurses, or it's police, or it's others that are losing their jobs because they're being mandated to do so. I was outside GE last Friday, standing with those employees out there who aren't anti-vaxxers, and that's the problem.
Right.
And even WMUR and New Hampshire Journal and Concord, they get it wrong. These aren't anti-vaxxers. These are people who want the choice, who believe in their rights fundamentally, and I agree with them.
Yeah.
And this idea that the governor can't do anything about it, I think is kind of bankrupt, because he sure did pass a lot of executive orders that limited our rights and told the private sector what to do. So he could stop this like that with an executive order. He could say nobody's going to lose their job because of a vaccine mandate. So, regardless of what the federal government says, regardless of what loophole they're trying to do, and using OSHA is really a terrible thing.
Has our federal delegation said anything contrary?
No, they haven't, and that's what I'm calling them out for. That's what I call Maggie Hassan out for. I say, Senator Hassan, when are you going to stand up for Americans, and more importantly, Granite Staters, who are losing their livelihood, losing their jobs, getting their rights taken away from them, while we watch big government grow, while we watch fiscal irresponsibility become institutionalized,
Really?
and the economic prosperity of Granite Staters become lower and lower and lower.
One of the questions that is troubling me, our military, you've had to go through all kinds of shots. You had to go through the gas and all that kind of stuff. But this is still, if I understand correctly, this is still relatively experimental. And we're experimenting with something which we have no idea what the long-term effects are. Now, you've gone through all that. And like you said, you're not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not. I had to cross. We were talking about Afghanistan just a little while ago, and I actually visited there years ago in 2000. And I had to get the vaccines for, I think it was hepatitis B or something like that, and a couple other ones. Though I was fine with that. You don't want that. You don't want malaria or whatever. But this one is different in that it doesn't necessarily give you full immunity, because it dies off after, say, 3 months, and then you got to get a booster, and then You gotta get another booster.
Right.
When does it end?
That's right. When does it end? And we have to ask ourselves that. And, let's get back, let's talk about the military issue, right? So we have a lot of service members that are going to be asked to leave, and their discharge, their service is going to be characterized as other than honorable. My son falls into that category right here in New Hampshire with the New Hampshire National Guard. And I, along with Al Baldassaro, have been pleading with the governor and with the adjutant general to not do it to our National Guardsmen. They're Title 32, right? They're not in the federal government under Title 10 unless they get activated, right? So let's protect our National Guard service members here in New Hampshire. Let's be the first state to do that. Let's be the first state that says, hey, listen, no, this is an experimental drug, very much like the anthrax drug that was experimental, that they discontinued in short order, but not until after I got all 5 of them. Al Baldassaro suffers from the negative effects of anthrax, as do thousands of other service members. I know I do. I've been evaluated for it. It negatively affects your muscles, your joints, your heart, other organs, your lungs. You got long-term problems from just that experimental drug. What? To protect us from anthrax. Yet, we send our service members to Africa into Ebola environments, and there's no shot for that. There's no cure for that. You know what? We use our head. I never got Ebola operating in those environments. I never got malaria because I took my medicine correctly. If you don't take your medicine correctly, you're going to get malaria. Never got hepatitis because I got the shot. But I can get the COVID shot, and I can still get COVID.
Right.
And show me anywhere I've done the research. Put it down. Do enemy preparation of the battlefield. It includes infectious diseases. Put the map on there and say, where would there be an operational requirement for our service members to get this shot?
One of the things that's coming
nowhere.
It's coming to light is the fact, whether it's Israel or the European countries, they're starting to see that, wait a minute, put the brakes on. People are still dying.
That's right.
And it's not from the unvaccinated. It's from the people that are already vaccinated.
That's right.
So it's not like we're anti-vax, the people that do not want to be vaccinated. It's, I want a choice. I want to protect that choice.
Yeah.
And that's where you stand on this particular.
That's where I stand.
There are people that called me up, Senator. We have a sickness in our house, we have ailments, and we want the vaccine. I was happy to give them information to get them, put up in the front of the line. Children's Home in Nashville. These kids were stuck inside. They wanted it. That's fine. But if you don't want it, it shouldn't be forced on you.
It shouldn't be forced on you.
Right.
And we should be investing in natural immunity.
Yeah.
Right? We should.
Right.
My story with the shot, it wasn't a voluntary choice for me, right? I got COVID, then I got the shot, right? Moderna. And the reason I did that was I couldn't work with veterans if I didn't have the shot.
So you would have been penalized.
I would have been penalized
Right.
for it. So I did it. I got the shot. I was sick as a dog, both shots, right? I got COVID, and it was like a mild cold for me. The worst part was losing my taste for a couple weeks.
Right.
So I used sriracha sauce to spice things up, right? But at least give my food some sort of zing, right?
Sure.
I love macaroni and cheese, right? But I couldn't taste it. So I'd put sriracha sauce on it, and boom, there it was,
you
right?
go.
I didn't taste the macaroni and cheese, but the spice was good, So, but my point is, it wasn't voluntary for me.
Right.
I had to do it in order to help veterans and their families who I love, right? So I'm willing to sacrifice my own health because I don't know what this shot's all about. I don't think anybody does. And to force it on people is wrong, particularly in light of the fact that it doesn't do like other shots we give people in the military to do, and that is prevent you from getting hepatitis or malaria, which is a pill, not a shot, but nonetheless, now they want to give us pills, right? Now they've come out with a pill.
Yeah, and they wanted to introduce that to the
It's
children.
about money, in my opinion.
Children from 5 to 11 years old or 12 years old, in the schools. And again, I believe I even heard it on GIR that there are still, questionable, problems that might cause heart disease with some of these
With some
children,
of these
or
children.
inflated heart
Mhm.
in some patients. So, do you take the gamble? Do you take the risk? That's really interesting. And I worry about the people that are going to be going on unemployment. Who's fighting for these people that are going to be forced into unemployment, who sacrificed their time, who went into the battlefield of COVID, if you will, the first responders?
Well,
And
here's
on
another
and on.
question I got for Maggie Hassan is, okay, these people that go on unemployment, who pays for that? It's not the federal government, it's the state government.
Right.
It's going to cost us a ton of money because we're creating a problem that we don't need to create.
Right.
We're causing people that otherwise are working hard, that have worked hard, that have worked, like you pointed out, through the pandemic. And we're out there when nobody else was working, or a lot of people were,
When it was a ghost
taking
town.
refuge,
Yeah.
like Maggie Hassan. She took refuge. She wasn't out, right? But these people are out. So now the very policies that they're enforcing are policies that are going to hurt people. The government shouldn't hurt people. People aren't losing their jobs because it's the Great Depression again. They're losing their jobs because elected officials who are supposed to protect them are taking their jobs away from them.
So right now we're worried about the reconciliation bill up in Congress and what's going to be going on there, and how it's going to affect our economy. We have, I think self-imposed, self-inflicted problems with shipping products across the country. Again, COVID related. You're not getting these cargo ships unloaded, right? They say they're open 24/7. They're not open 24/7. What is our federal delegation doing to get these things moving, to open up our ports so that goods get to the shelves? What's happening with inflation? If we allow this to go through with this reconciliation bill and the proposed budget, they're printing trillions of dollars. That does not do good for the economy at all. The more you print, the less value your dollar is, the higher the inflation. And if you're on a fixed income, and for not to speak out against this is draconian.
I know all about supply chain. I mean, I was in the military. I had to depend on supply chain. I had to, I commanded over 2,000 service members in Africa, over 28 different countries, 2.5 times the size of the United States. I mean, there's a supply chain issue to get them water in remote areas, to get them food in remote areas, to, get their, beans and bullets out to them.
So what's the problem? Why aren't we doing that?
Well, the problem is they've created such a gap in the ability for people to, to work, that nobody's out there doing the work. If I was the Secretary of Transportation, I'd be out there on the ground helping download stuff. He needs to be there where the problem is, right? And so
is he the one that's on maternity leave?
Huh?
Is he the one that's on maternity leave?
Yeah, he's on maternity leave, right? Which, I don't begrudge anyone being on maternity leave, but there are times when there is
national crisis.
National crisis.
Yeah.
My wife knows all about that. I mean, I left her alone all the time in times where, I was torn. Like, I should be at home helping my wife, but I can't. I'm serving my country. I got to be out there on the front lines, right? And that's the decision that these guys have to make. But they're not willing to make it. They're not willing to sacrifice for themselves for the betterment of others. And that's the problem we have with career politicians, and that's the problem we have with the public servants that they appoint. They are self-serving, and he's not doing his job. Our military supply chain is broken. Our strategic Navy, our strategic Air Force, our nuclear forces, none of them are prepared. None of them could support anything going on in the Asian theater if it happened. And China's a huge threat. They're going to start putting themselves on those islands that they don't own, but they say they own, that lead right up to the shores of Taiwan. They're already flying more and more sorties there, and they're going to put their ships close so they can attack by air, land, or sea. They're going to try and do it just by air, but they're not dumb. They're going to put themselves in a position to where they can use all of them if they need to take over that country. And we're just sitting here.
Do you have the
passing out
confidence that
tickets.
this president and this administration can handle that?
No, they can't handle it. The way they handled Afghanistan is is this exact,
It's worse than Benghazi.
it's terrible.
I mean,
It's terrible.
Benghazi was bad.
It is an example of how they don't know how to handle anything. And it's not just the president and the national security staff, it's the Department of Defense and the Secretary of Defense, Austin, and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Milley. All these guys knew, but I worked for all those guys. They knew how to do this. When you do a withdrawal or a NEO, a non-combatant evacuation in a hostile environment, it's a combat operation. You have to move in forces to secure areas so that you can get people out, to secure paths, zones so that you can get people from point A to point B. You need to use trucks, you need to use air, you need to use all these things, and then you need to tell the enemy, if you poke your head up, you're done, right?
None of that was done.
And if it is to get us out and that was the decision, okay, I'm not going to fight the decision, but I will fight. What they did was a debacle, and they left American citizens hanging,
still there.
allies hanging, and our Afghan partners hanging, and that has weakened us in the eyes of the world.
Has our federal delegation done anything to
Nothing.
speak up?
Nothing, because they don't know what to say and they don't know what to do. Jean Shaheen sits on the Senate Armed Services Committee. What does she do? Nothing. She's done nothing. Hassan sits on the Homeland Security Commission. What went on in Afghanistan is just as dangerous to the homeland as it is to our service members abroad or anything that we want to do abroad and our reputation. She's done nothing. And Pappas and Custer.
It seems as though
Forget about that.
it's rumor. Maybe it's a little less than rumor now. It seems as though a lot more people are talking about it. How that the border crisis is being. These people are being shipped across the country.
Mm-hmm.
They're unvetted. Now we have Afghans that are coming to the country that are unvetted, and we have this attack against the police departments that's been going on nationwide. It's as though everything is under assault, whether it's the school boards or the parents at the school boards. Everything is up in the air.
It is.
We need change.
We need change.
And you're stepping up to the plate.
I'm stepping up to the plate to offer that change, to serve the public again in a different capacity. I know about national security. I know how to secure a nation. I know how to make it strong. I know about fiscal responsibility. And I know about economic prosperity. And I'm one of you. I am living it with you. I'm not above you.
How can people get in touch with your campaign?
www.donbolduc.com.
All right.
It's simple.
And your dog just won an award.
Victor, yes.
He's in here somewhere.
He's the service dog of the year.
Yeah. Congratulations. And congratulations on your graduation coming up.
Thank you.
And we thank you for stepping up and, of course, for your service. We really appreciate that.
And yours as well.
Well, thank you. So until next week, thanks for watching Speaking with the Senator. If you want to get involved with the campaign, if you want to find out a little bit more about it, contact General Bolduc and find out how you can help and get a little bit more affiliated with his issues. And until then, we'll see you next week.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.